From the Middle is a founding member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Head on over to oddpodsmedia.com to check out all of the great shows on Odd Pods. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into this episode, number 140 of From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys living in the middle of America, in the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view that's somewhere in the middle. And if that doesn't tell you enough about our show, we're a comedy, culture, entertainment, and interview-style podcast where we just like to relax and have fun and make you laugh. In this episode, we do all kinds of things. We do some taste testing. We talk about the Olympics, a little bit of fur baby drama. If you've listened to the episode before with us, you'll know that Corey loves his fur babies. We do a little bit of a Midwest twirling competition. Corey heads to one with one of his kiddos, and then all kinds of things that we're streaming, including wrestling, movies, and TV. Check it out.
Oh, for the love.
Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved. From the Middle after dark over here.
See, all the funny stuff. We didn't get any of the funny stuff. I like having the funny stuff.
It is good to have it.
For at the end as a little treat for the people.
I don't think our listeners are buying it. They're like,
For the
there was
people.
no funny stuff, be honest.
That's right. Well, I mean, so two of the friends of the show said that they really enjoy the funny stuff at the end. Ludacris, friend of the show.
Right.
And Britney Spears said, oh.
Was that her?
Yeah.
Hey, episodes back, we had a sparkling water debate.
Yes.
And I think we're going to settle it this evening. One of our listeners said that they really enjoyed the sparkling water debate. In fact, if you go to iTunes, that's one of the reviews is that they really enjoyed the sparkling water debate. So you guys each know that I have fallen for the gimmick that is the Liquid Death brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's this heavy metal Ed Hardy-esque tongue-in-cheek water brand.
But they knew that you would love it.
They knew I would love it. Mark Rebier, one of my favorite loopers, Loop Daddy, he drinks it. Some of my favorite podcasters drink it. And up until last week, they only had regular flat water and sparkling water. Well, they just released flavors. And I brought 2 of the 3 for you guys to try this evening. Mango Chainsaw is one.
Sounds dangerously delicious.
Severed Lime is another.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a strawberry flavor. I forget the cute name for that one.
Murder. Strawberry murder.
Probably. So go ahead. Dylan's got a little lime over there. Kendall's got a little lime. And then you've also got the mango to try.
Yeah, and for anyone who hasn't seen the cans, you need to Google Liquid Death canned water. If you remember when jeans were bedazzled with Gothic crosses, it's kind of what it reminds me of. A little bit, but on a can. And if you're on YouTube, Kendall's showing it off, which is great.
It's a self-aware brand. It makes fun of itself. Mm-hmm. It's part of the shtick. So go ahead and give it a. For all of the people with misophonia who that drives insane, you're welcome.
You know, it's very good. For flavored sparkling water, it's actually very mildly flavored, but still smooth, if that's a thing. But that like it doesn't taste watered down. Yeah. It just tastes gentle.
Yeah, it's not like somebody in the other room had some limes and then farted, and you get like just. Like, was there? No. Did you have earlier? Did you have a lot of lime? It's not like that.
It got in your mouth?
Yeah. It's the problem with those when there's like just a whiff of aroma, but then it's over carbonated. So then I just feel like I'm fighting off the bubbly. I don't like that. I don't like the, I don't want to badmouth a brand, but the popular canned water that lots of people drink, it's like way too bubbly.
Oh yeah, LaCroix.
Okay. So that one.
So try the mango. We'll give Kendall a little.
This is delicious. This is, if I didn't know any better, I would think like somebody set a can of or a cup of Sprite with ice in it out and it melted and hit room temperature.
In all fairness, we poured it into cups like maybe 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding again. This is very
try
good.
the mango. I think the mango it's of the two, it's my favorite.
It's actually it's seriously really good.
We'll see. So, little secret.
And I'm not even a fan.
I don't like mango. But
oh, you made Kendall open his
that
whole
is
can.
good.
oh no, don't open.
Oh.
Here, come grab that.
I feel like my gut instinct tells me that I'm gonna like the lemon lime, which I like a lot. That I'm gonna like that more than mango, but
The
I'm
lime. Yeah.
the lime.
Severed
lime. Severed lime. I feel like I'm gonna like that more. Mango's fine. I like actual mango. It's when people try to put flavors of mango in things.
Right. I feel like I like this better than I would like most mango things, which tells me that it's probably not accurately mango.
I don't know. This is very mango-y, but actually I don't mind it.
So here was my take. Tell me if you agree.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about how LaCroix feels like 2 rooms away there's somebody was cutting a fruit while you're drinking carbonated water.
Yeah.
San Pellegrino,
That's classic.
way on the other end of the spectrum. It's almost Italian soda. Too much flavor, too much sweetness. This feels like a really good balance.
These are delicious, and I honestly, I've never found one that I actually like.
Yeah.
That's not like a soda.
Right.
These are. I would legitimately want to buy these.
Well, the San Pellegrino stuff is actual, like they take the actual fruit juice and mix it in.
Yes.
So it's not sugar free or anything like that. Like these probably are.
Yeah.
We are not sponsored by Liquid Death. We would like to be if they're down.
Yeah.
But
we even have a whole media network that would help peddle your
this
delicious
is free promotion. I
juice
just
water.
thought, I think I've finally landed on one that feels like that balance between a touch of it, but not too much of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not so surprisingly, it happens to be probably the most expensive one you can get.
Sure. With a really dope brand that all the kids are talking about.
That's right. I wonder if I don't know how expensive it is. I mean, I've got a fridge full of Topo Chico, which isn't cheap.
Topo Chico. That's all I can
This
think
is so
of.
good.
Anyway, thought I'd bring some for you guys to try. We also tried, shout out to our friends over at Backroom Coffee Roasters. Our boy Trent, we talked about a bunch of weeks back now. And this is their first ever coffee chocolate bar, dark Swiss chocolate. We each tried a little bit of that tonight. So we are wired on dark Swiss chocolate with coffee grounds in it and flavored sparkling water.
Well, and I brought something too. So I have, if you didn't know, Coke is doing Coke with coffee. And you can also get those 0 sugar, which this is. And this also has a splash of vanilla. So I think we should do a little bit of Coke with coffee. And we'll this will be like a tasting Columbus
I wasn't
bonus.
expecting all this tonight.
Bonus
This is fun.
episode. I know, candy and water, and that was a nice cracouche there.
So while Dylan's pouring that, how are you guys doing? We're back in studio after a bunch of weeks in a
been a
row
long time.
of doing Zoom calls. Man, it's good to be back.
It sure is. Sure is. There's something about being able to play off of each other. I feel like the recording is better. But I mean, we'll see. No, it is good.
It's good. I'm excited to be here. It keeps me off the streets. So this is exciting. And we get to try things too, which the chocolate is delicious.
Speaking of the streets, so I had a neighborhood question for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the etiquette on this. My middle child, my most sensitive child, this was before the snow. We got a bunch of rain before the last snow, where we got 8 or so inches of snow. So because we had gotten so much rain, our backyard becomes a swamp, and our child needed to walk the dog out front because we didn't want sloppy, swampy dogs. So she takes the dog out front, walking the dog on the leash, and across the street, one of our neighbors gets home with groceries when the child of that house leaves the man door to the house /garage open, and the dog runs out and bites our dog. Chloe is super sensitive, super scared by all of this. Does a great job, though. Keeps her composure. Tries to pull the dogs apart. The mom's on the other side of the street. The mom's hands are full of groceries, so she couldn't stop the dog. Honest mistake. Nobody's fault. But, so we look the dog over. Everything seems fine. Chloe is melting down. She feels like she's done something wrong. We said, no, sweetie, you did everything you were supposed to do. You separated the dogs. You pulled her up on the porch. Everything's fine. Scarlett's fine. You're fine. It's all good. That neighbor dog took off and ran out through the neighborhood. They had to go search for it. We looked the dog over, Scarlett, our fur baby, the family member, one of our children, and didn't find any wounds or anything. And so we were just like, wow, we dodged a bullet there. Yeah. All good. 2 days later, Sherry's calling Scarlett down for her food, and she's not coming down. And she's acting weird, and she's limping a bit. And we're like, we should probably give this dog another look-see. And Sherry finds on the left side of our precious fur baby's neck a wound and an abscess. And we're like, oh, crap.
Oh, boy.
From what I now know, almost any dog bite is going to get infection. There's no there's no clean dog bites. So we take the dog, we call the vet. It's, I think this is like a Friday night. Call the vet, and the vet says, yeah, it's like 9 or 10 p.m. at this point. They're like, you should bring it down to MedVet, which is a super fancy.
It is inexpensive.
And expensive.
It is where the fur baby pets are people.
100%. It is nicer than hospitals on a large portion of this planet.
Yes.
For humans. Regular, like real, actual, like family members.
Right.
So, long story long, they were short-staffed because it had now snowed, the 8 or 9 inches. So they were short-staffed. People weren't coming into work. So there was only like one vet. We're like way down on the bottom of the list because they go by how urgent it is. And your dog is stable. So there's other more important things that we need to take care of, one of which was a surgery. So when Sherry gets there, like, it's going to be 3 hours.
Wow.
So they're like, you can go home and we'll just call you once the procedure is done. We need to open up the wound, clean the wound, close her back up and everything. I tell Sherry before she takes the dog down, before we knew what was going on, because you guys know how I feel about pets. Pets are pets. They're animals. Yeah. We love them. We're glad to have them. We treat them respectfully, but they're animals. So I said, babe, what's the threshold amount? Like...
Sure. It's a legitimate question.
Yeah. What's that amount where we're like, hey.
Right.
If we need to just say, thanks for the memories, Scarlett, but we're not spending above. Is that wrong? We'll come back to that.
It was just funny how it was presented. Go ahead.
So 3 a.m, Sherry gets home. We divided and conquered. I stayed home with the kids. Sherry went back down to MedVet, the animal hospital, to pick up our dog. By the time she drags her back inside, I'm passed out asleep on her bed. By the time Sherry carries the dog back inside, it's 3 a.m. It was a very long night. It cost us quite a bit of money. So the neighbor and I, the whole time, are Facebook messaging. And she's like, hey, keep us updated. I'm so sorry. Couldn't be sweeter. Again, nobody's fault. And then I fill her in. Here's what's gone on. Here's the procedure that she just had. She seems to be okay. And then she goes, okay, let me know if there's anything else I can do. Is that when I give her an itemized, what's the etiquette on that? Our dog on a leash, theirs they keep in the house for a reason.
Right.
Thoughts, feedback on the whole story, and am I evil for having an amount that I'm not willing to spend on dog surgeries?
Let me tackle the etiquette part of this, or attempt to tackle it. I'm not going to pretend like I know what's going on in anyone else's head. However, I think a reasonably smart person on the other side of the situation would say, I'm not going to bring up paying unless they do. If they do, I'd be happy to have that conversation. But I think the right thing to do is proactively offer at least whatever financial assistance you can afford. Maybe that's $50, maybe that's $500 or $1,000 or whatever. But I think a reasonably smart person's going to go, I'm not bringing it up unless they do. I just don't think people want to, they feel bad. Sure. Maybe they're not in a position to do anything. So maybe that's not why they offered it. I have no idea. Yeah. But I'm just saying, if you're thinking through the conversation and you have some time to formulate a response because it's a text and it's not an in-person conversation, you have the ability to not be forced to say, oh goodness, let us know how much it costs. We'll try to do something. You can say anything that you want supportive without volunteering to financially kick in. Again, don't know that that's what happened, but I could see somebody doing that. Like, man, either I don't have the money or we're not in a position to do that, or we don't really want to do that. It was an accident, But I think I would hope most people would be willing to proactively volunteer that. I mean, I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. I agree. Now, Judge Judy has ruled on this, I think, many times.
Judge Joe Brown, what's he have to say too?
I know that I've seen it on Judge Judy before. I don't remember precisely what the verdict is, but I do believe, I'm leaning toward that if the person with the rowdy dog, did something negligent or somewhere along those lines, she berates them and then makes them pay like the vet bill.
Yeah.
But she'll throw out any other nonsense that's like, and I feel personally traumatized. So they're not going to pay. So Judge Judy probably wouldn't pay for like Chloe's counseling.
Therapy. Yeah.
But Judge Judy would probably get the bills taken care of. That's my guess. I think that you guys need to talk to your neighbor, and you need to say, I'm going to ask you to pay for it. I want you to say no, so that we can try to get onto Judge Judy. And
this could be great for our social media following.
So that's our plan.
Wait, a quick thing, and we can jump back to it. I promise. Have you ever seen the fastest Judge Judy case?
No.
It's two women. And she looks at, I don't remember plaintiff and defendant and who's who. The girl that was wronged, she looks at her and goes, you sold her your horse and you told her it was $1,500. And the girl goes, yeah. And she looks at the other one and you only paid $100. And the lady goes, yeah. She's like ruling in favor of the other person for $1,400. And the other lady, who apparently was going to try to get away with only paying $100, just looks totally, bewildered. Well, we're supposed to talk about this. It was
so
great.
You need to get a neck tattoo first before any of this happens, and then you need to show up wearing exactly what you're wearing now in court. Backwards hat and all, maybe dye your beard purple, and then take one of these Ed Hardy liquid death cans with you and just slam that on the pedestal when you get in there.
Stone Cold style.
Oh, man. So to be clear, we try to be comedic. We take actual goings on in our lives and try to just like break it apart 6 ways to Sunday and look at the comedic layers of it. So I'm not actually after these people's money. However, I do like breaking down the etiquette and the like what should be done in this scenario. Now, to add another layer of interesting complexity to this, between the incident and us discovering 2 days later that there was a wound is when the snow occurred. And that same neighbor went to work and said, if anyone in the neighborhood could shovel my driveway, I'd really appreciate it. I'm at work today and I'm unable to do it. So I said, hey, I'll take care of your driveway. Unless any kids in the neighborhood want to make some money, I don't want to take money out of the hands of children. So if they want to do it, for sure, like pay them. I don't need the money, but just I'll happily do it. Don't worry about paying me. This is before I realized just how intense the shoveling job was going to be because we got 2 inches of ice before we got the 8 inches of snow.
Right.
And 15 minutes into my own driveway, I'm exhausted and going, I've now committed to also doing her driveway. So we ended up, anyway, somebody came over with a snowblower and helped me do the last little bit of ours, which was very kind. So I had just a little bit of energy left to do an entire other driveway.
Yeah.
And she gave me a $25 Amazon gift card for doing that. It was very nice.
It was very nice.
But now it added to the complexity of me going, hey, by the way, remember that incident from the other day?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be $510, which I did not do. Anyway, drama in the neighborhood, man. I don't know all these rules. I don't know how all this stuff works. But I also know I would have rather spent that money on a snowblower. See how he did that?
Yeah.
Hey,
beautiful.
Dylan, that coffee vanilla Coke Zero is really nice.
It is,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's interesting.
They blend the flavors pretty darn well. Like, I mean, you're not expecting a perfect science out of Coca-Cola, right?
Right.
Like, you're going, yeah, they're going to slap some coffee flavor in there and call it a day. But it's nice.
I don't know. I mean, they should get into the drink-making business. This is good stuff.
They might be able to find their way, sure.
So what do you guys got going on? Any drama in your lives?
I very little lately. I've mostly just been streaming some more stuff than normal, and we typically save that kind of for the back end
We do.
of our episodes.
Unless we want to talk about it more.
I don't want to get too far ahead, but that's what's been going on.
Speaking of saving it for the back end, there was nothing there.
There's nothing
Oh,
there.
gotcha. Okay.
Well, there is something there. Anyway, Kendall.
You know what? Let's talk Olympics.
All right,
Anybody watching the Olympics?
those are on.
Those are on.
I'm boycotting China.
Your boy. That's hard to do around here.
Not really. But I've not watched any.
Yeah,
No.
I've decided I'm not going to China at all.
This was, I feel like, I don't know if you guys agree. Maybe it's just because I'm not watching. This one was horribly marketed.
I agree.
Like, I really only heard the first ad. And I do watch a lot of streaming apps with no ads. So that's part of it. And I don't drive to work, so I don't listen to the radio in the car. But I do listen to some, like, streaming music with ads. And you'd expect to have, like, NBC,
Shouting it
just
from the rooftops.
shouting from the rooftops, yeah, that the Olympics are on. And I think the first ad that I heard was literally like 2 days before they were going to start, and went, "Oh yeah, the Olympics this year."
The Olympics.
Yeah, I saw the glimpse. Sorry, I saw the glimpse of like the end of one ad. Like I was like, "Oh yeah, that's coming up," but still no idea when. And then the Friday that they kicked off, I was like, "Oh yeah, those are on."
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like it snuck up on me because I feel like the marketing just was missing altogether. And on top of that, like what I'm used to with the Olympics is if you turn on NBC during the day, you could watch Olympics all day long for the most part. It'd be like Olympics and local news.
Yeah.
And that's not the case this year. This year, like you have to wait till 8 p.m. to watch really anything on broadcast. And other than that, you have to have cable because USA is showing stuff all day long.
Yeah.
Or Peacock. Subscribe to Peacock. So they're taking that angle. They're doing that with the Olympics.
That's why.
And which I did not appreciate at first. But then I love the Olympics. I have been watching the Olympics. And so therefore I looked into Peacock and for $5 for the month.
Okay.
And you can watch Olympics all day long. Only now it's better because they have it set up. They have an Olympic tab on their on the Peacock, and you can choose what sport you want to watch. And it'll tell you like there's these 3 curling matches going on right now. Which one do you want to watch? So you can do that, or you can do like I do and just stick to like the USA and the USA channel and stuff like that. That way they can curate for me what they think is going to be interesting. And that way I still get my, every 2-year reintroduction to sports that I never watch. And then if I find something interesting, which I have found something interesting, then I can go and follow that a little bit more closely through the rest of the app. So I ran into that, and I was thinking to myself, like, as soon as I realized all that, I was no longer upset about the forcing me into Peacock thing for a month because of how well the coverage is being divvied up. And that's all they needed to tell people. Like, for $5, here's the experience you can have with the Olympics.
Right.
And we're going to plaster that everywhere.
Now, are they doing it? Are they doing it on the coverage and saying it? If you watch on your Peacock app, you can do da-da-da.
No, they're not.
Interesting.
Like I found all that out myself.
Yeah. I'm sure what they're hoping for is lots of people to sign up for the Olympics and then forget to cancel as soon as it's over. So that they just keep paying $5 a month. But yeah, when you frame it that way, hey, enjoy virtually everything that you'd want to watch about the Olympics for $5. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, but yeah, terribly marketed. I heard that at the last Olympics, the Summer Olympics, they when they have the commercial ad deals with companies, they basically guarantee X number of eyeballs are going to see your ad, and we're going to charge you this much for those eyeballs, right? And they so grossly underperformed that NBC had to give away free ad space to all of these companies. And this year, like, they were jumping out ahead of that and actually telling companies, you know what, we expect it probably to be worse. It's just not a good look.
That's so interesting. I'd be so interested to see a chart of like eyeballs watching the Olympics over time. I mean, there was a time when that was what you talked about for the year coming. They would follow the stories, and they're in training, qualifying, and we're following these at. And it was a big deal. That's back when we only had 5 channels, and that was what you did. You watched the Olympics.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I love the Olympics. I hope that they bounce back. But as long as they're on TV,
let's talk about some sports they can include that would up the ratings. We've already talked about on this podcast how they need to bring back one of the greatest events from the TV show American Gladiator, which is where they shot the tennis balls at people on a little obstacle course. That'd be a good one.
That'd be a great one.
America versus Russia. They're shooting each other on a field. Oh, that's
wasn't a tennis ball.
Maybe that's not a bad. But like that'd be a good one.
I think there's lots of realistic things you could do too. And we've talked about having the everyman on there. So for all of the professional
as your
Olympians,
baseline.
You need the everyman as your baseline. So just, plucked right out of suburban Dallas, here's John, and John's going to do the whatever throw.
Well, they have an entire event for that. It's called curling.
I was going to say.
Yeah. But just for every other sport then. I think there could be one where you have to keep your butt planted on a couch, and they keep moving the remote control further and further, and you have to see, it's basically just that arm reach, right? Like how much can I twist and contort my body to get the remote further and further? I think there's all kinds of cool things that you could do. Yeah.
That's a good joke, Kendall. It made me think of a meme I saw this week. I'm not watching anything. I just saw the meme of the American men's curling team, and it was like these guys just looked like a group of dads who just wanted something to do to get out of the house, and they accidentally won the Olympics.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. If anybody remembers those guys, they were coined as the rock stars of the Olympics.
Okay.
After the Olympics, the Winter Olympics 4 years ago, and they're back this year, doing their thing. I don't think that their events have started up, but what has started up is mixed doubles curling, so 2 people, man, woman, and I started following this couple. I'm calling them a couple because in my mind, whenever I'm seeing a male and a female teamed up in a sport, I assume they're married. I don't know if that's just me. I either assume that they're married or they're like, there's been a lot of time together. This seems like probably a
I
pretty
think that about figure skating too.
Do you?
Yeah.
They're probably.
There's something going on there.
There's something going on
maybe not
there.
figure skating.
And
but
so I don't know. So I started following these 2. They did well. Apparently they won like a world championship last year or something. So I'm going to follow them through the Olympics. Because I've done some research because I got curious. I'm like, are they married? And so I looked them up, and they're not. They're not married.
Here's something kind of related to that. I wonder if YouTube and Google notice during big things like the Olympics, if there's a really big surge in all different kinds of searches for things, like all of a sudden people are like, man, for this next 6 weeks, we have no statistics on what people are looking up for the next 6 weeks outside of obvious Olympics. It's going to be like curling, which leads them to a video on something else, and then guys fighting a bear in Russia in a wrestling ring. You know, there's got to just be like all this weird search engine mayhem.
I tell you what. So like the gal's name, her first name's Vicky. I forget what her last name is. I typed in her first name and just started typing in her last name, and it autofilled Vicky whatever husband.
Yeah, I think the recommendations are like real-time recommendations based on trending things. So like after an episode of the Book of Boba Fett, when everyone's Googling, who is this character?
Yeah.
Right.
Then, that's what's happening. That's funny. I have a funny story about the Olympics. One time Sherry and I were, I don't know if it was summer or winter, but one time Sherry and I were watching the opening ceremonies. And I don't think we had kids at this point, so we were having a good time. And we were watching, and I said, hey, let's play a game. Let's start doing the accents of each country as they walk in to the stadium.
That sounds racist. Cool.
It was real fun. But Sherry doesn't spend as much time practicing accents and impressions like I do.
Yeah.
So all of hers were coming out Jamaican. So we would take turns, and it would be like Switzerland, and she'd be like, we're at the Olympics, man. and then back and forth. Romania, we're at the Olympics, man. And then I got Jamaica.
It was because she saw Cool Runnings one time, and that stuck with her. Which I think we do owe a congratulations to the Jamaicans who are back with a bobsledding team for the first time in a long time, probably since the movie Cool Runnings. Yeah. So congratulations to the Jamaican bobsled team for qualifying. John Candy is thrilled.
John Candy is dead.
Oh, jeez. I think it's a good time to hear some words from one of our friends in the Odd Pods Media John Candy is Dead Network.
Hey, this is Russ.
This is Kyle.
This is Michelle.
From the Infectious Groove Podcast. Join us every Monday for the most fun you can have with a music podcast. The Infectious Groove Podcast uses a positive and fun approach as we take time every week to share our jammy jams, then dig into a thought-provoking topic discussing all decades and genres of music. You can find the Infectious Groove Podcast on all major podcast platforms, or you can head to infectiousgroovepodcast.com to find us there and subscribe. We might have a controversial opinion here or there, but we always have fun with it.
Oh, I'm sure I'll say something dumb.
Subscribe to the Infectious Groove Podcast, part of the Odd Pods Media Network.
He wrote the lyrics to this song on a napkin back in 1974. It's time for everybody's favorite hit. I wrote this song on a napkin.
Great song, man.
We're getting a word from our production staff here that we just want to apologize to John Candy's friends and family. He was a fantastic actor. And Jamaica's bobsled team would not be what they are today
were it not for him.
Yes.
Speaking of great comedic actors, I legitimately got a little sad today when I saw a very funny GIF of Chris Farley and Adam Sandler like dancing together. And I just had that moment where I'm like, oh, yeah. And it was clearly old. It looked late 80s or 90s or early 90s. I just went, oh, yeah.
I miss a lot of comedians.
Yeah.
John Candy, Chris Farley are two of them.
Yeah. Well, this seems like a good time to take a break from one of our friends.
No, I wanted to pick up on the unique sports thread. So, again, we're being playful and we're being fun and we're just observers. We observe things. So Chloe had her very first ever twirling competition.
Nice.
There are also dance teams, but it's primarily twirling. So she takes group lessons at this lady in the next town over, and also private lessons from this same lady. So again, primarily twirling, but they also do some dance. And some of these girls in Chloe's class take a bunch of different classes. So there's different combinations of twirling songs and then dancing songs. So you might be in 4, you might be in 2, but it's their first big competition. Whoa. The people watching there was something. So this is girls ranging in age from, I want to say 2 years old all the way up through college. Most of them are from this dance studio, but there's other dance studios that are coming and they're competing.
And just to clean up that segue, the adult people watching at these kind of events.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. What did you think I meant?
Well, just some people might be tuning in for the first time.
And twirling is with a baton. It's like what a majorette does.
Right.
Or a drum major. So don't be weird. Oh no, this is getting dark. So anyway, from like age 2 all the way up through college. And Sherry had to go first because Chloe had to be there early. I brought the other 2 kids because we're all going to go support Chloe. She did a super job. We're super proud of her. 2nd place in one event, 1st place in the other event. It was really fun.
Very cool.
It was her first time. She's seeing this world for the first time too. She's seeing what these competitions are like. She's only, done this with a handful of girls in her class. So Chloe's going to be 12, and I'm looking at some of these other ages of kids in these classes, and I'm just thinking, I know what the class costs alone. But then they have to have different costumes for each number that they're in. And I know these costumes are professional grade, sequins, tutus, the matching shoes, the makeup. You got to have the matching hair thing. And I'm looking at some of these, like, let's say the 2-year-olds, just kind of counting up in my head what I know this all costs for them to come out and do this.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this. Make sure you're on camera, buddy.
We are getting some bobbing and some light gesturing for anyone not on YouTube watching this unfold.
And I'm thinking that right there costs $350 for a 2-year-old. Of course, I get it. We've all, you support your kids in whatever other thing. Then the judges, who people are taking this very seriously. This is their lives. They may have been in this community once before. The drama. I mean, the drama and the excitement. And if you've ever wanted to get like a really dope hip hop remix of the Oompa Loompa song, there was some bangers coming out of this thing from a music perspective. And then one incident. Okay, so all these girls the whole day are waiting to see the college age girls do the same thing, like on a whole nother level, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So a local university had 3 drum or majorettes represented. So 3 girls from the college. That's it. Just 3. So they come out and they're doing their thing. In the middle of the thing, the one in the middle drops her baton, but it's common for them to drop. That's not a big deal. But then she stares straight ahead at a gymnasium full of people and covers her mouth like she's going to throw up. And then the other 2 look over at her and see and now everyone's going, oh no. She's going to... So then she runs as fast as she can to the edge and yaks in a giant garbage can.
Oh, dude.
And like, it's not like, oh, the lights are off and you can't see the audience. It's a gym. It's lit up like the middle of a basketball game. And now you have to try to pretend like you didn't just see that and not have the whole place go, oh, and you feel horrible for her. And now all these other little girls are watching. They've been excited to see this thing, and she's puking her guts out in the corner, and people are rubbing her back. And there are other parts of the number where she's supposed to throw her batons to her teammates, and those batons aren't
coming.
I'm like, this is a Saturday. I saw so much. It was something.
Which you had to be thinking, having watched all of Christopher Guest's documentaries, you had to be thinking, this is like prime. This is prime for reproducing into a Maki series.
Yeah. And we've talked about before, like how fun it is to dive headlong into a culture that you know nothing about. So that's all this is. This isn't a judgment. I'm not passing judgment. I was in show choir. So like people would come to our events and do the very same thing that I'm talking about. Like, did you see this kid doing a solo in sequins and pretending like he was all cool? I get it. Like I've been in my own little, but anyway, it was just fun to just see what that was like. And I'm like, I am not missing the next one. The highs, the lows, the drama, the vomit.
Would it be weird if I just showed up to the next one?
No, we should go and do a vlog. And we're in the third row here at the next competition.
I think if we showed up with our podcasting equipment and say we're live, we're doing a live episode for the Baton Twirling Association.
Yeah. Hey, maybe are there any twirling podcasts out there?
I'm sure there are, but be careful with that Google search.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, that was something else. Again, folks in the Midwest, they take their things like that very, very seriously. It was interesting. It kind of had that air of like, you've seen those pageant mom shows, and
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
It had some of those characters too.
Okay, I was expecting you to talk about.
You were trying to set like some of those moms that are like living vicariously through their daughter, like Stacy, go. Okay, your face, I'm getting nothing. You have to lighten up, be excited. You're just giving me nothing. I'm getting nothing from you. Just those moms, and then the ones that are like, I don't know, she decided to do this 2 years ago, and I guess we come to these things, and
yeah.
It's just so fun to just observe, like and just sit there and like eat a Hershey bar and just take it all in.
A backroom coffee bar.
Yeah, that's what I meant. A backroom coffee bar.
Roasters.com.
Oh man. All right. Anyway, enough of my stories.
We talked about stuff. We said we were going to talk about stuff for streaming on the back end. I don't think that anything is that interesting. But we can talk.
Let's do it. We haven't done the things that we're watching and streaming in a couple weeks, so we should do a round.
Yeah. So I finally saw Spider-Man: No Way Home. So that was a big one. I'm going to rattle off a couple, and then if you guys have questions, you can chime in.
Did you like it?
Well, let me rattle off a few. But yes, I loved it. And then we can chat about all of them. Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I talked about in the fall. That was that, and Bond, No Time to Die were a few that I was very excited to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I did watch. We do pick fun a little bit at DC movies. Not that we don't enjoy the DC superheroes at all, but we have talked about that. Legitimately, some of the better DC content is in animated form.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to test that theory again. I watched Justice Society World War II on HBO Max and The Last Duel, which was with Matt Damon and Adam Driver and Ben Affleck about some knights and basically the last joust duel that happened in France. So those are some of the things that I've watched recently. But yeah, obviously Spider-Man: No Way Home being one of the biggest ones. It was ironic watching The Last Duel. I think Ridley Scott made that because that was supposed to like bring people back to the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be like a big movie, and it flopped. I enjoyed it, but it, box office, it was a flop. And then here we are with Spider-Man that's done like $1.7 billion, and it's
crazy numbers.
And it's like, it's going to be like the highest grossing film of all time.
Yep.
In the middle of a pandemic, which what the heck would it have done if it hadn't been in the middle of an Omicron surge?
It's possible the pandemic has helped it.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe there's so much pent up
timing
demand,
is everything. Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think it would have done more, not less. I don't know that the pandemic, making this up, I know nothing. I think it hurt it. I don't think it helped it.
Yeah. Well, people love Spider-Man in this country. Like it's just
huge character, tons of support. And so I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. It was a ton of fun. Some big cameos, from beginning to end in that movie. And are we doing spoilers?
I mean, I think it's been long enough. You've not seen it that yet?
I have not seen it. No.
Okay,
it's been almost 2 months. So I'll just say, it's appropriate that some of the final scenes, the final major scenes, ended at the Statue of Liberty because all the characters there got their second chance. And I just thought it was a really cool way to to sort of end the film, especially with all the different cameos. It was so good. It was. I can't wait. It really set up Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness perfectly. It's exciting. So if you're a Marvel fan, like that at least a few of us are, I'm sure you loved it. I'm sure you love the cameos. Lots of cool stuff to watch. It kept you interacting, or it kept you engaged, the whole time. It was awesome. I know, Corey, you saw it a while ago, so you've had a lot more time.
Yeah, it's been a minute, and I did get to see it twice. And I think we'll do a Tangents episode. If you're new to our podcast, we do deep dive, topical side episodes on our YouTube channel called Tangents, things that would be probably just way too much on one topic for our regular episodes like this one. But yeah, I'll just say, we know the multiverse concept is included. We know there are some cameos. I don't think any other franchise has done what this movie did, bringing new life to all forms of storytelling on a character in the way that this did. I don't think that's ever been done in film ever. And that was so cool. You made these disparate plots relevant again. Things that are a lot older now that younger kids have no idea were other takes or iterations or spins. Am I making it too obvious? I just think re-infusing life into the character of Spider-Man in that way is so smart and cool, and it makes it all. You could call it retconning. It's fine. Star Wars has done it. The retconning concept, but not to this scale, I don't think.
Yeah, and it's funny because we've, I saw today, I think, and it was announced the Oscars list. This has been weird couple of years because they were going to, essentially, there were so few movies coming out, they were going to push 2 years worth of the Oscars, I think, into what'll be the 2022 Oscars. And it firms up for me that the Academy needs some sort of blockbuster award, like the best blockbuster. Yeah. And I don't mean highest grossing film, because that doesn't make it good, the best movie of the year, but it might be. It might be the highest grossing film of the year, but I think that combination of popularity, box office numbers, but also quality of film, that to me is exactly what something like Spider-Man would be, or the finale of Daniel Craig's James Bond films. Like, those are the kind of movies that need to be in the running for that, because just because they're not as artsy as some of the other films nominated doesn't mean that they don't have as big of an impact. And Spider-Man in some ways might have essentially helped pull back and save some of these theaters that were on the brink. And darn it, if that needs rewarded in some way. And so I'd love to, we've talked about it before. I'd love to see the best blockbuster film or something like that. Even if they did it earlier in the night to kind of distance it from best film overall.
Right.
I think that's fine.
Because you want to distance what the people think.
Yeah. Well,
from what the Academy thinks.
That's a whole separate argument.
Who are we to tell the Academy what a good movie is?
Right. That's a whole separate argument of whether
you're
feel
so
like
cerebral. It's so developed and evolved.
Yeah. That's a whole other argument, whether you think all these award shows are elitists and everyone's just patting each other on the back. But
circle back massage. To quote Jeremy Kester.
Yeah. It's so. I think that at the bare minimum, an award like that, again, even if it's a little earlier in the night, would go a long way at helping fans of some of these big franchises and some of these really cool, are we going to seriously say that at its peak, Harry Potter never even deserved to be in the conversation for like best film or best actor, best actress, just because it's a fantasy film? Like, I know, and Lord of the Rings is like by far the exception, not the rule, because that movie, the trilogy did incredibly well. But anyways, I just feel like movies like No Way Home deserve a nod, more than just special effects.
Fill us in on some lowbrow wrestling, you troglodyte. What happened with Royal Rumble?
Let me take a swig of liquid death first.
Touche. I see what you did there. Seriously, were there some pretty exciting? I saw some images. Rumble. I tried not to dive too deep.
So I'll start with the less surprising thing that Brock Lesnar won the men's Royal Rumble match, which meant a lot, as these things are choreographed, always does, because he had been beaten earlier in the night by Bobby Lashley for the title, and so Brock Lesnar is right now without a title. So there's that. But big news for anybody on the wrestling front that you already know this. It's been weeks now. But Ronda Rousey. Rowdy Ronda Rousey's back.
Like she's back, not just
back,
for the Rumble.
She's back. She's gonna be on Raw.
She just had a baby, right? Not that long
What's
ago.
her story? Was that her? Did she have a baby?
Yeah, pretty sure.
And did I see that Goldberg's back, or is that a temporary thing? I don't keep up on the news.
I don't know anything about Goldberg.
Okay.
I don't either.
I missed that then.
But no, Rowdy Ronda is back. I'm pretty sure back. So she won the Royal Rumble, and I believe that she's going to be on the Raw brand roster.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to that. I got to watch the meetup between her and the Man.
Yeah, I was going to say, is she going to be back at Becky?
On.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Becky is heel now.
I didn't
kind
know
of.
that.
She's heel-ish now.
She's changed her look a lot, right?
She changes her look like every match.
Yeah.
But no, she's heel in that, like, she's cheating to win all of her fights and backs down from challenges and that kind of thing. So she's that type of heel, but she's still likable. I still think people love her. So I don't think it's working. But
yeah.
So that's what's going on in the wrestling world. So now we've got to gear up and head toward WrestleMania.
In combat sports, you watched the latest season of Cobra Kai.
I did. Which I love. Getting my kids into karate.
Yeah.
And then, like, for some reason, like, it just puts an extra color on watching something like Cobra Kai, which is it's a tongue-in-cheek thing to be into Cobra Kai. There's a lot of Cobra Kai that is tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, they are actually, like, providing you with a legitimate drama.
Yeah.
All right. So that's been good. Every season has ended with a giant cliffhanger of introducing a character from one of the original movies, and now you get to wait and find out what's going to happen. And so that happened now. So the next season 5, is going to have the Japanese guy that was Danny LaRusso's rival in Karate Kid 2.
Oh, I'm blanking on his name right now.
Yeah, I don't know his name either.
Anyway.
But so that's fun and exciting. Oh, and a YouTube channel that I came across a while ago, but recently have been diving into it. Again, karate related. It's called, I want to get this right. Well, where's my note?
Enter the Dojo Show?
Yeah, Enter the Dojo Show. There's
with Master Ken.
With Master Ken. Now, Master Ken is it's a persona, and this guy he's a comedian who is this fake but funny master of his own type of karate, which is called Amaradoti. So he created because in his words, all other disciplines of karate are bullshit. And so he goes around and he speaks at, like, karate seminars, and there's, like, popular dojos that will pay to bring him in to, like, basically just roast their dojo. And he's got so you guys need to find Master Ken on YouTube and start watching his stuff, because he is absolutely hilarious. He is actually the guy is a legitimate. He's a black belt in Kempo, which is a discipline of karate. It's a newer, I think, discipline of karate. But he actually knows his stuff. But he created this persona, which is just absolutely hilarious. One of his moves is called the Thrust of Freedom.
All I can think of when you're describing this is Rex from Napoleon Dynamite, who has Rex Kwon Do.
It's something similar to that.
That's all I think of.
I love it when people carve out their own niche. The
guy's killing it. He's killing it.
That's awesome.
I'll definitely check that out. You're
Don't
like
forget to re-stomp that groin.
re-stomp. That's the tag at the end.
That's every move he shows you ends up with the person on the ground, and he always finishes. And don't forget to re-stomp the groin. Find him.
That sounds great.
Watch him. Love him.
You're killing it with your YouTube recommendations. I'm loving everything that you're recommending there. So I think it's funny that I too watched Ghostbusters Afterlife. So Dylan, I wanted to come back to your thoughts on that. And speaking of Afterlife, one word, I finished the latest season of Afterlife, 2 words, with Ricky Gervais that you had talked about a couple episodes ago. Man, that show just takes you on an emotional journey. You're like crying 1 minute, and then you're like, that is one of the most crass, crude, offensive things I've heard in a really long time. And then you're crying again, and it's so good. I think that wrapped up, that completes the series.
Right.
So well done. So I really enjoyed that. What'd you think of Ghostbusters?
I was so excited. So you told me that you had watched it, and I was waiting for the Blu-ray to come out with the digital copy. Now, my wife, every year I feel like in October, I want to watch Ghostbusters because to me, those are kind of Halloween-ish movies.
Yeah.
And my wife never has any interest, but because this one had Paul Rudd in it, she was like, I might watch this.
Okay.
So I was very excited to like wait and get it and do the thing. And so she did. She agreed to sit down and watch. I'm like, do you want to watch, the first 2? No, I don't want to. Okay. I'll go on YouTube, and there's that channel that's like movies in minutes.
Okay.
And so I just did the I searched Ghostbusters movies in minutes. The first movie was like in 3 or 4 minutes. The second movie was in 3 or 4 minutes. She's caught up in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we turn on this one. So I'm figuring I won't have to explain a whole lot because now at least, not that you would need to, but just if you want to round out the movie and make it better, it's like you don't want her to miss kind of.
Oh yeah,
things.
for sure.
And so, so I'm like sort of teeing this up for her, and I'm not tempering my own expectations at all. And I'm going into this pretty excited, but not knowing there wasn't a ton of talk about it after it came out. So like I was kind of on the fence, and I loved it. I thought it was such a good spiritual successor to the first 2 movies. And to be clear, this is not a bashing of the all-female cast from 2016. I never saw it. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't care. I totally missed that one. But it's such a great successor to the first and second movies. And then I was watching some of the behind the scenes. Now, the original producer, was it Ivan Reitman? Is that right?
Yeah.
I think that it was his son, Jason Reitman, who did this one. And there was one section of the behind the scenes where like he took some of the things from the first 2 movies shot for shot and recreated it. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of led to this whole like mental excursion. Like, why was it okay for him to do it, but not in like Star Wars with Episode 7 when some, fans were up in arms over, the first movie with Rey being a rehash of A New Hope. But right. Jason Reitman literally did some of these shots like frame for frame, like the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 pulling out of the building and pulling a Yui right out of the building onto the street was like frame for frame the same thing. You reusing some of the special effects, like the pink sort of tracing in the sky where a ghost is flying. Some of the stuff is like exactly the same. I loved it. I thought it was great. There were tons of little nods and Easter eggs. They find a really great way to appeal to the fans of the old movies and bring them into a new cast. And I think they pretty clearly set up like a new group of 4 young kind of teenagers, kids that could easily be in the next movie. Obviously not Paul Rudd, although he still looks like a teenager.
Yeah.
But like it was a ton of fun. It really felt like they absolutely nailed the feeling of the films because they have a bit of that Goonies vibe. It's like it's maybe scary for a really little kid, a little bit scary for an 8 to 12-year-old, but as an adult, it's an adventure movie. You know, it's not really scary as an adult. It's more adventure. And so in the same way that Goonies has that feel. It was perfect. I thought the new one did that very, very well. It was great. I loved it.
Fun is a good word. I like that you picked up on the style of it. Super 8 was one of the first films to do this for me. J.J. Abrams, produced by Steven Spielberg. It was done in 2011, but it's sort of a love letter to that 80s Spielberg era. And then Stranger Things did the same thing, where it just, the look of it, you feel like it's just dripping with 80s and early 90s nostalgia. This felt the same way. It just felt like that Goonies, because kids are the subjects and the protagonists of the movie, and the look of it, that it felt very much like the first films. And I like Ghostbusters. I'm a fan. I'm not die hard. But what was really cool for me is after I watched it, I went back because I wanted to see true diehard Ghostbuster fan reactions to it. And I, in my YouTube search, discovered a video. This is before the film had come out, by a diehard YouTuber with a Ghostbusters channel and a Ghostbusters shrine in his house. And he's reacting to the final trailer. And the final trailer just has the words from some cameos that appear, and he's moved to tears just from the hands of cameos of the original Ghostbusters in the third trailer. It's just their hands and from the waist down. And he's like something like, "You couldn't wait on us," or something like that is what they say, I think, in the third trailer. And he's crying, and I'm like, that's cool to see, because that's what I am with Star Wars. Yeah. It's cool to see somebody else that way for something. And so they're calling it Ghostbusters 3. The Ghostbusters fans have adopted it as
there would be nothing else to call it. I mean, and for the cliffhanger there, my wife also enjoyed it, and Paul Rudd helped sell the whole movie to her.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's Ghostbusters 3. Like, you absolutely could watch all three of them in a row, and the story is continuous and very well done.
Man, Star Wars needs the Ghostbusters fans.
Yeah,
that's right. And again, this is no knock on the all-female cast. There was a big uproar about that. People were upset. Why didn't we get taken as seriously for our version? We're not commenting on that. I didn't see it. I didn't see it because it's a female male cast. I just didn't see it. So.
Yeah, and it's funny because the first question, if somebody really wanted to try to poke holes, would be like, well, if you're a Ghostbusters fan, why didn't you watch the 2016 one? And for me, I don't even know if this is true. I heard it was a reboot, and I wasn't particularly interested in watching a reboot of Ghostbusters, but I knew Afterlife was built as a continuation.
Yeah.
So I was more intrigued by the story moving forward than just seeing the story flipped over again and started again.
I think Leslie Jones was especially vocal on social media about her frustration with the fact that their version didn't get the same love as Afterlife. Anyway.
Yeah, and to their credit, fans or quote fans can be real buttholes on the internet. So like they probably got roasted daily for even the audacity to try to do a remake of Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was it for me. It was that simple. I just didn't need it rebooted. And so anyways, well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it because I thought it was so much fun.
Very fun. The kid, we watched it as a family. We all enjoyed it. My final two, Ozark season 4. Ozark, if you've been watching, it's right up there for me with Breaking Bad and Sons of Anarchy as one of those really dramatic, cool. I know it slowed down for some people, but if you've been following along, Ozark season 4 just released. And it's going to be the last season, but they're breaking it into 2 parts. So this is season 4, part 1. It's still 7 episodes, but it's kind of like what they did with Harry Potter by making the last book 2 films. This is 2 parts of the final season. So 7 episodes. Go check that out. And if you are on our Facebook group, From the Middle for the Middlers, I talked about a show I started watching this past weekend called Murderville. The premise is Will Arnett is a homicide detective, and each episode he gets a trainee, and that trainee is a celebrity guest who has no script. So the first episode is Conan O'Brien.
Okay.
And he's the trainee to Will Arnett, and everyone else has a script except for Conan. And so he's just got to improv all of his lines, which means Will has to react to what Conan is saying. So Will has to also improv, and Conan is the only one who can solve the murder. No one else can contribute to solving the murder.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the three main suspects are called into a room, and they're like, Conan, tell us who it is and why. So he's had this whole experience now, and he has to give his rationale.
Dude.
There are, I think, 6 or 7 episodes, and so Sharon Stone is another guest. Ken Jeong is another guest. The famous football player that played for the Seahawks. I'm blanking on his
Russell
name.
Wilson?
No, running back.
Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch. It's so fun. There was some criticism online that it should have just been an SNL sketch instead of a show, and I'm like, who cares? It's equally good.
Funny either way.
Check out Murderville. So much fun if you like comedians and improv, and it's great times.
Fantastic.
That feels like a beautiful place to end this episode.
Sure does. This has been a fun one. We've got some really nice Artiest Man products here on the table. I know they're out of frame and you can't see them. Artiest Man is a partner of ours. They make incredible all natural men's grooming products, and they are local here in Central Ohio. They're really, really good quality. We love working with them. I just did the winter sampler pack with the purchase of some regularly priced items, and Dylan brought me these tonight to try. So artiustman.com, artiusman.com. Use promo code THEMIDDLE at checkout to get 25% off your first order. Really good stuff. I also recommend their soy blend woodwick candles. They've got some new scents of that as well. The beard oils are awesome. Tea tree spice and spiced latte. I think those are some of my new favorite scents. So check them out. It's been fun hanging out with you guys. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.